Hi, I'm your host, Mark Aaron, and welcome to In Focus by U Multicultural, where we focus on civic issues here in Winnipeg. And in today's episode, we'll be talking to Mando Harvest on how they help support the Winnipeg community and how COVID-19 affected them. With me right now is Meaghan Erbus. Meaghan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
So, can you give us a brief description about yourself?
Sure. My name is Meaghan Erbus. I work at Harvest Manitoba as the Advocacy and Impact Manager. My job is kind of sort of three different things. One thing that I do is I advocate for the community that we serve. So I work directly with our clients to find out why they need to access food from Harvest Manitoba. Second is government relations. So taking what I hear from our community and sharing that with our local governments to say these are the challenges that they're experiencing, and this is what needs to be done in order to make their lives better or enhance their lives. Sort of a systems change conversation. And then lastly is research. So we work with a bunch of different organizations, like-minded organizations, to produce evidence-based research, but we also produce our own. So recently we started to do a survey called Harvest Voices, and we surveyed our community to dig a little deeper to find out what's going on in their lives so that we can share sort of that frontline experience with government. And then lastly, sort of one more thing to that, to sort of my line of work is community action. So encouraging the community to participate in some sort of activation project as they see fit around food insecurity. So if they're excited about food insecurity or rather food security, but want to challenge the food insecurity in the community, we would encourage them to, call their local MLA, their city councilor, and so on, writing campaigns, letter writing campaigns. So that's also a component. And that's sort of what I do here at Harvest Manitoba.
And can you also give us a description on what Harvest Manitoba is?
Yeah, so Harvest Manitoba is a food distribution and training center. We are like a food hub that works with a network of about 350 food banks and agencies where they, through us, share food with a community that needs help. Um, and so it's through those agencies that we provide food bank hampers at food banks, I should say. So those food bank hampers are an extension of what you have in terms of money or food already in your pocket, or sorry, in your fridge, I should say rather. And that what you would get is once a month an opportunity to have a non-perishable, an amount of non-perishable food items, perishable food items like dairy and vegetables, and then some extras. And in hopes to sort of like help you be able to, elongate some of the financial things that you already have, as I mentioned.
Uh,
Um,
oh, sorry.
Sorry, and then for training as well as education. So as I kind of mentioned, a part of what I do, but some of what I do as well is work with post-secondary educations around project-based work. So they help me do a lot of the things that I do within my department. But then we also have training opportunities here for community. So in the event that you're able to find employment or you'd like to find employment, there's different jobs that or different opportunities here like warehouse, kitchen training, and a few other that we're going to be launching in the future, in the hopes that people would have the opportunity to be job ready or find employment based on the skills that they learn here at Harvest.
And how is the Winnipeg Harvest handling all the COVID-19 and what changes have you guys had to make?
Yeah, so Harvest Manitoba was deemed an essential service in the beginning, so we remained open with like 80,000 people access our services monthly. So in terms of that, and having if we had to shut down, it would be astronomical for lots of different people. So we had to really pivot our services in order to accommodate the policies that are in place, like social distancing, physical distancing, PPE, all of those things that we all are very aware of at this point. And so the way that we operate as a building is, as I mentioned, we're a hub. And so what we did was we worked directly with our public health inspectors and people to make sure that we were doing all those things appropriately. We provided PPE, we provided masks to everybody, our clients, as well as our folks that run our food banks. We changed the way in which we distribute our food. So as I mentioned just recently, or just a moment ago, about the food bank hamper. So previously we would have had sort of like a shopping method where you could go in and you could pick some of the items. So in order to not have a number of people in one space, we now have a pre-boxed hamper that folks can kind of, maybe 2 people at a time can go into a facility, let's say it's a community center, access their food bank hamper, and then go through. And then from like an organizational perspective, so here at Harvest Manitoba, we just we had to sort of like ensure that we had the right amount of people at the times that we needed them. So we just made sure that we had time slots available for people to be here to be able to volunteer, and we also made sure that we had proper spacing, all of those things in place as well.
And would you say that the need for, like, let's say Harvest Manitoba, was it more busier because of the COVID-19 as well?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the sort of in the beginning, on the onset, we saw a decrease in volunteers, obviously, because of the fact that people were asked to stay home. So that was really challenging for us. We also saw a decrease in food donations, not just from communities, so like a part of sort of like third-party events where
Mhm.
maybe myself or a community organization would have a food drive for us, but we also saw a decrease in foods that we would receive through grocery stores and so on, because there was a supply chain disruption with a lot of that sort of panic buying or so a part of that really affected the way in which and the amount of food that we received. So we saw a decrease in that. And then most certainly we saw an increase in people in the beginning prior to the Canadian Emergency Recovery Benefit being distributed. We saw a significant increase of about 30% actually.
And how can the Winnipeg community help the Winnipeg Harvest while on lockdown? Because like you said, like people need food to survive, but how can they help during the cause?
Yeah, so I mean, the community has been amazing. People stepped up right from the beginning until now. We
Mhm.
kind of anticipate usually an increase of donations around times of struggle and then sort of a decrease, and that just has not happened. Everyone's been fantastic. So just carrying on with that sort of momentum to we don't know what's going to happen. We never do in terms of like lockdown and reopening and all of that. So just continuing to support us through food, money, and advocacy as well as time, so we really couldn't do without the volunteer time that's given to us. We have a small paid team, and then the rest is really provided, that person power is really provided through volunteering. And then in terms of like food and money, the way in which we operate is always, a challenge because we're a charity,
Mhm.
and then food as well, right? So we can only get what we receive through our donations, and so as long as folks can continue to keep that up, we're going to be okay, I think. Yeah.
And does Winnipeg Harvest have any events coming up to like help out, like support the cause? Are there any events coming up that like people can come and support you guys?
You know what? I'm not aware of any at this exact moment. I would drive you to our website. So it's
Mhm.
harvestmanitoba.ca. And a lot of them are all listed on there. Most of what we're doing right now is online. So if
Mhm.
you are following us on our Facebook or our Instagram or on Twitter, anything that we're doing is posted up on there. And I encourage everybody to look there to be able to see what's going on here.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Megan.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today's episode of In Focus by U Multicultural. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, and special thank you to Manitoba Harvest for their time. Hope you stay safe and have a nice day.